Welcome to the Neurokrish Immersion. In this podcast, we explore the aging brain and mind, a conversation that looks beyond forgetfulness to uncover what truly changes with age. Today, we talk about aging, not as decline, but as transition, the kind that reshapes memory, nudges identity, and rewires emotion. Aging isn't just wear and tear, it's wisdom hidden in slowdown. It's not the end of thinking, but the evolution of how we think. Let's tune in. And for those of you who like watching graphics and images, please do follow the visual guide to the podcast because you'll probably find that very helpful. Now, what does aging really mean? And what does aging well really mean? Is it just about being able to climb stairs without panting or running marathons at 70 years of age? There is a difference between successful aging, adapting gracefully to life's changes, and optimal aging, outperforming even the young. Successful aging is about staying active and satisfied. Optimal aging? It's like being vintage wine, only getting better with time. What if your best years aren't behind you, but ahead of you? Here's a bonus insight. Purpose-driven activities can improve brain plasticity at any age. Now, we all have an emotional epicenter, the limbic system, tucked away deep inside your brain, and if you draw a line between your ears, it's right in the middle there on either side. It's an ancient command center. It doesn't just store emotions, it's the backstage crew running attention, memory, and behavior. As we age, this control room starts to flicker. The circuits get slower. The emotional volume may rise or fall. This is not just your memory fading. It's the whole orchestra losing its conductor. Do you feel your emotions are more intense or more fragile as you age? Ask yourself that. Now, what happens to our brain as we age? The blood flow and glucose metabolism begin to decline, especially in the insula, which helps us process sensory input. We've talked a lot about the insula recently, and I'll take you back to the episode on the monk brain, where we talked about it as being part of the default mode network. There's also a drop in dopamine activity. We have fewer D1 and D2 receptors and transporters, and this affects both our movements and our mental sharpness. All these changes lead to slower reactions, mild forgetfulness, and more emotional ups and downs. Have you noticed certain smells, sounds, or thoughts taking longer to register? That's your insula and dopamine pathways talking, but less quickly than they used to. We have another very interesting structure, which is deep inside the limbic system, the hippocampus. The hippocampus is the size of a finger joint, and if you draw a line again between your ears, it's right in the middle there on either side. It's the brain's key memory processor, storing your day-to-day and long-term experiences. As we age, the volume of the hippocampus naturally declines, and this shrinkage is directly linked to memory performance. MRI scans show that a smaller hippocampus leads to greater memory difficulties even before dementia sets in. Do you often forget names or where you kept things? This could be your hippocampus waving a small red flag. Positron emission tomography or PET scans are the best way in which we can visualize your aging in action. How certain areas become quieter with age. It's like turning on or off the lights in your brain's hallways. If your brain's energy could be mapped like a heat sensor, what color would yours be today? And if you look at the visual guide, you can see the PET scan images. And in those images, you will see how lighter colors represent areas that are less active in our brain. There's something else. We have what we call white matter in our brain, the brain's wiring. It grows older too. White matter connects different parts of the brain. It allows messages to travel fast and smoothly. With age, these connections start showing alterations, especially in the form of white matter hyperintensities. what we see as bright spots on MRI scans. These changes can slow thinking, reduce multitasking ability, and subtly affect your balance and coordination. White matter makes up nearly half the human brain, and its aging begins earlier than we think, often in our 40s. So the brain is like a house that ages with us. Just like an old house, the brain creaks, cracks, and needs repairs with age. The wiring, the white matter, frays. The pipes, the blood vessels, clog. The paint, the neurochemicals, fade. But with the right care, it stays standing and full of stories. This metaphor helps us destigmatize aging and see it as natural and not tragic. What part of your brain house feels most worn out lately? Your memory room? Your emotional balcony? Ask yourself this question. Why do our brains and minds slow down? What is the role of disuse, disease, and decline? Cognitive decline and aging isn't just about getting older. It can be caused by disuse. Mental rust from post-retirement disengagement is a classic example, and your brain follows the simple rule of use it or lose it. Disease, conditions like stroke, often after surgery or after, for example, a CABG procedure in your heart, can damage brain networks. And of course, there is the whole process of pathological aging, when aging goes beyond normal wear and tear into illness like Alzheimer's disease or vascular dementia. What we do know is that people who take up a new skill, like painting or language learning, after age 60, often maintain a sharper memory for years longer. What have you taken up recently? What are you trying to learn? How are you using your brain? With aging, cognitive slowing is a normal process. Your brain processes information a little more slowly. Short-term memory, like remembering why you walked into a room, is often the first thing to show signs of wear and tear. Long-term memory, your childhood stories, life lessons, deeply stored facts, remain surprisingly strong. Your working memory, which is your brain's mental scratchpad, is hit the hardest. It affects planning, focus, and multitasking. Do you remember your school days clearly, but forget where you left your keys? Well, that's a normal part of aging. Your working memory is like your brain's sticky note. It's your brain's task manager. It holds and juggles information while you're doing things. Your storage capacity stays intact with age, but what suffers is cognitive flexibility. That means it's harder to plan, shift between tasks, or solve problems on the fly. Older adults may therefore just take longer to switch tasks, but when focused on one thing at a time, they often perform just as well as younger people. Think about the older person in your family, and think about the time when you told them that the travel plans had changed in the last minute. How they react, how they are perplexed, how they find it so difficult to change their plans. That's called shifting set. Shifting set is something that suffers with age. So cognitive aging commonly includes, therefore, slowing processing speed, reduced cognitive flexibility, and a slightly weaker working memory. What your brain continues to protect is your semantic memory, facts that you know, vocabulary, your general knowledge. It protects your well-encoded memories, things that you learn deeply and meaningfully. It protects your recent memories like life events, especially emotional ones. Can you still sing an old movie song but forget where you parked? That's typical and totally normal. Mood and self-esteem also have a role to play, and feelings can cloud your memory. Studies have shown that low mood and poor self-esteem can make people feel like their memory is failing even when it isn't. We call this subjective cognitive impairment. Depression and anxiety slow down focus and recall. They create a false sense of memory decline. Boosting your mood, therefore, often sharpens your memory without any brain training. Do you notice your memory slips more when you're feeling down or stressed? What we do know is that treating depression in older adults often improves memory complaints without any cognitive therapy. Dementia is a condition in which your memory is very affected, and dementia is an outlier on the aging spectrum. Dementia affects older adults. About 2% of cases start before 65, and after 65, the risk doubles every 5 years. By 90, over 1/3 of people are affected with dementia. And if you looking at the visual guide, you'll see that women tend to have higher rates as age advances. Dementia is kind of a clinical syndrome. But before that, we have normal aging, which is mild slowing and forgetfulness, and a pre-dementia stage called mild cognitive impairment, in which the person starts having noticeable but not disabling memory changes. Does anyone in your family live beyond 85? Have you noticed them struggle with their memory? Ask yourself this. To understand memory, to understand aging, we also need to go back to evolution. And if you're looking at the visual guide again, you'll see how the brain evolved from the reptilian to the paleomammalian and the neomammalian parts. The reptilian brain is at the core. It has basic survival instincts and reflexes. Think about the humble rat and what you share with it. Smell memory is what you and the rat share with each other. And that's the early mammalian brain. Paleomammalian brain includes the limbic system and includes emotions, bonding, and memory. And it's only in the neomammalian cortex that language, reasoning, and creativity became part of human brain function. As we age, the outer layers slow down first, thinking and planning, while the oldest parts, your instincts, stay robust longer. When you react without thinking, like jumping at a loud sound, that's your ancient reptilian brain in action. In your brain, if you cut your brain in the middle, you will see what's called the Papez circuit, which is your brain's emotional highway. James Papez proposed the idea of an emotion system that links thinking and feeling. This loop, called the Papez circuit, connects key areas in your brain: the hippocampus, which is your memory anchor, the hypothalamus, which is your emotional thermostat, your anterior thalamus, which is your relay station, the cingulate cortex, which is the conscious experience of human emotion. Together, these structures shape how we feel, react, and remember emotional events. Think about your last big emotional event. Your Papez circuit was probably firing on all cylinders. And if you look at the visual guide, you'll understand how the Papez circuit looks and operates. Here's an interesting fun fact. Do you know that when people were asked what they were doing when John F. Kennedy was shot and they heard the news, most people could remember exactly what they were doing. It tells you how important emotion is as a kind of key driver to memory. Please remember that emotional memories have the longest recall. Now, why does our emotional regulation weaken with age? Luria, a very famous Russian neuropsychologist, talked about the brain as having 3 functional units. He said you have a tone and alertness unit, which regulates wakefulness and mood tone. You have an information processor unit, which handles receiving, analyzing, and storing data. And you have an executive control unit, which plans, monitors, and adjusts behaviors. With age, it's the executive unit, the prefrontal cortex, that takes the biggest hit. That's why older adults may feel emotions more intensely or find it harder to regulate them. Ever found yourself more tearful or quicker to frustration as you've aged? That's your executive unit slowing down. Again, I draw you to the visual guide where these are beautifully colored for you to see which parts are which units in your brain. Now, what about happiness? What's the science of feeling good as we get older? We think of happiness as a state of contentment, love, joy, satisfaction, or pleasure. Different lenses, really. In philosophy and religion, it's a good life, a flourishing life. In psychology, we talk about positive emotions and positive activities leading to pleasure, engagement, and meaning. But what shapes happiness? Strong relationships, social interaction, optimism, health, freedom, purpose, income, and community have all been shown to shape happiness. And even economics studies public happiness to guide policy. Have you thought about which is the happiest country in the world? What brings you more lasting happiness? Pleasure in the moment, deep engagement, or a sense of purpose? Now, our life's evolutionary mission is to reproduce genes, G, and to build protective environments, umbrellas to help them thrive. There are two types of protection. The small u, the lowercase u, is the proximal umbrella. It's micro-level, short-term safety for self and immediate offspring. The large U is your general umbrella, macro-level, long-term safety that benefits future generations. Happiness emerges when we create these umbrellas of security and flourishing, both near and far. And this G, lowercase u, uppercase U, GUU is the science of happiness. And your happiness therefore lies not just in taking care of yourself and your immediate family, it lies in what you contribute to society. Did you know that altruism is the strongest predictor of human happiness? So what umbrellas have you built today around yourself, your family, or the wider world? Genes thrive when protected by small and large umbrellas, local and global environments that ensure survival and growth. And some of these goals are biologically hardwired and they protect the G, and some are shaped by environment. As we age, happiness often grows as we meet more of these deep-rooted objectives. Research suggests that people who balance self-care and community care, the small u and the large u, report greater life satisfaction, especially in the later years. Self-actualization is Maslow's goal for all of us. Aging can bring challenges that slow or stop our self-actualization journey. Our physical health declines. It limits our energy and freedom. Our memory fades. Our personal history feels blurry, less meaningful. Our social environment changes. Loved ones move and pass on. We start feeling lonely because of the loss of near and dear. We have insecurities, both material, finances, and spiritual, meaning and purpose. Adaptation becomes harder. Coping with change feels overwhelming. Which of these do you see most affecting your sense of purpose as you age, and what can you do today to prepare? In the positive psychology of senior years is the abundance of knowledge through experience, lived wisdom, humanistic values derived through personal experience, enhance empathy and awareness of the mind, one's own and others, spirit of social contribution, interaction, and altruism. If you think about it, seniors have much to contribute in a positive vein to life and society, their own and those of others around them. Think of a senior you admire. What strength do they radiate the most? How does a senior, therefore, prevent stress? Here, the power of routine and balance becomes very apparent. Adequate rest and sleep, scheduling and planning of activities, maintaining and fostering social connections, learning new things, Please remember, this is one of the most powerful things that you can do today, taking up a new hobby, taking up a new skill or craft. And a balanced diet. Seniors who engage in just 30 minutes of light exercise daily report 40% less stress levels. It's very, very important, therefore, to be both physically and mentally active as we age. Now, here are 5 key takeaways for you, the listener of this podcast. 1. The aging brain is not a declining brain. Aging does not inevitably mean cognitive decline. And while certain processing speeds and memory functions may slow, older adults often find and show increased emotional regulation, crystallized intelligence, and wisdom. Remember, neuroplasticity continues into old age. The brain can still adapt, learn, and rewire. Contrary to stereotypes, therefore, an older brain is not a failing brain. It's often a wiser, more emotionally intelligent one. Second, use it or lose it. Cognitive reserve matters. Mental, social, and physical activities build cognitive reserve, protecting against neurodegenerative changes. Lifelong learning, meaningful relationships, and physical exercise promote brain resilience, potentially delaying or minimizing symptoms of dementia. Like a savings account for your mind, cognitive reserve can help you weather the storms of aging. Third, neurodegeneration and normal aging are not the same. Mild forgetfulness and slower recall can be part of normal aging, but conditions like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and frontotemporal dementia involve pathological changes. Recognizing this difference early allows for better care and intervention. Not every misplaced key signal is Alzheimer's. Knowing the difference is the key to compassionate aging. 4. The emotional brain strengthens with age. The amygdala and prefrontal cortex, crucial to emotional regulation, often function more harmoniously in later life. This contributes to emotional balance, gratitude, and less reactivity, a neurological basis for the so-called positivity effect in older adults. The brain doesn't just age, it mellows. With fewer storms and more sunshine, the emotional landscape often becomes clearer. 5th, purpose, meaning, and connection are brain protective. Older adults who maintain a sense of purpose, engage in spiritual or philosophical reflection, and stay socially connected show better brain health. Insights from neuroscience and Advaita Vedanta converge here. Inner clarity and connectedness nourish the brain. It turns out that meaning isn't just food for the soul, it's medicine for the brain. I hope you enjoyed learning about the aging brain and mind, and I hope this leaves you with a number of little life lessons that you can use as you age purposefully. Thank you for listening.